Howdy peeps. So I wanted to make a video about me. I wanted to share something because I think like what happens in general in life with me and people who are close to me, what happens is there's so much rubbing together of this electromagnetic energy that sometimes you just create this static shock, right? It's kind of difficult for people to be close to me to actually understand who I am, because as a person, I constantly grow, I constantly evolve, and I constantly say this all the time. But I think certain people, because their experiences remain the same thing all the time, they think that people around them stay the same. So on the outside, the external, the extrovert part of Aaron and Aaron's life experience, he's always going to be changing. He's always different. Don't just assume because I'm an artist and I teach dance and that's the only thing that I do that I stay the same. This is why I educate myself. This is why I read history. This is why I try to challenge being somewhat of a life coach or what have you. So it's just fascinating to me that when I have tips, arguments, and head bumping with people, it's really because them and themselves are frustrated about something. And oftentimes I'm accused of, you go through this all the time. You do this all the time. But what's funny is every time an experience revolves itself over and over, I actually become stronger and stronger. But sometimes your tolerance level gets lower and lower. That's why you just say, I don't deal with this BS no more. Bye. So when it comes to I would say relationships and dating, that's the part of me I have zero tolerance for distractions and BS. Same with my lifestyle. If I live somewhere and, for instance, like an example today, whoever's supposed to be our security, our overseer of our place and in our customer service go-to person, the landlord, if you roll eyes with me in the morning and you pull your dog away from me petting him, there's a problem. And if that's the environment that I have to learn to adapt to, I don't like to be taught how to keep my distance from someone, because whatever prejudice or dislikes you have, I don't put up with that. I've worked too hard in life to be somewhat of a light to the end of the tunnel in most situations that I'm in, or most people that I'm around. I'm not going to subject myself to accept somebody who demeans me for whatever reason mentally they institute on me. And I just don't know. So if there's a question where I found a better place to reside in 6 months from now, I think I have a better plan to do that and better means. And where's the light? That's why I like having my sunroof open. I was just sharing that because I think a lot of times in life we have these perceptions, right? And our perceptions get mixed up, convoluted with the actual obstacles that people find the resolutions to. If someone is finding a resolution and sharing something with you, and they're just sharing that they've had this observation, it doesn't mean, oh, please critique and give me that, checklist of, what am I doing wrong? And specifically for me, I would say on the introvert side of Aaron Davis, that's where I stay exactly the same. everyone knows that, I've kind of shared a lot about my life that, yes, I've been bullied, throughout every grade in school that I can recollect, from second to the last month of high school. But it's okay. But that same Aaron still exists, where if someone's talking shiitake mushrooms about me, I'm gonna respond. Like, I'm gonna emotionally feel offended. I'm going to emotionally feel like that's just absurd and unnecessary. I'm going to have an automatic response. That's just that's just me. That's the introverted side of myself. The only way to protect myself and let it roll off my back is having to convince myself that they have a problem. Because then what happened in the learning process, it was blaming myself that I have a problem. Or if they're saying that I'm too queer, then maybe it is true. And what happens is, children who, and I was a child too, that have self-doubting thoughts about their orientation. Excuse me for 1 second. Gosh darn it. Every time I record a video, my battery gets low. Okay, so it's on battery saving. So, to quickly wrap this up, I was just saying how when people think that that it's okay to put tough love on me, it's actually not okay. Because I raised my damn self with my mama. The only person who could put tough love on me is my mom. Because she's been the one and only person through every experience in all my life, and she has always had my back. Through thick and through thin, we've been through so much, so no one can really say they actually know me but my own mom. She raised me 101. And I was trying to make a point of view, POV, with a friend earlier that, we cannot discount our experiences with ourselves because of our lives now as adults. But our lives as children, I can relate to the perspective that if you are a new parent, cohabitating parents with one child. I was one child with two parents at one point, and then I was one child with one parent for the longest, and I was a child with a step parent. So I've had learning experiences to understand and know transitions in life have to happen in order for people to learn, evolve, and grow. The last point I wanted to make was I don't understand why people constantly doubt me, because they think my mental capacity or my psychological capacity is whatever it is that they think it is. Sorry, I'm in the dark. It's just kind of funny to me. Like, if I say something that you never knew, does that really mean that I'm making a theory out of it? Or am I really sharing something that I did do research about that I'm sharing with you? So, and that's the misconception I always get, is when I say something, people always think I'm making it up. Or if I have a perception or perspective about something, it's probably because I see the common root of the equation that people are still trying to figure out. So it's like, if people are like, oh my God, I don't understand why, this person behaves and acts this way, blah, blah, blah. Then I might say, well, here's a perspective that I see, because maybe Aaron sees behavior every single day. Maybe part of my job is to be the mediator and the diffuser of behavior. Maybe Aaron's job is, if there's two people about to go one-on-one with each other, I have to diffuse that. Or maybe the accountability of my job is to put everyone on one page, to move as a unit, as a team, and collaborate and work together. So that's just the funny thing about people is they sort of skip the part where my emotional intelligence and my intellect has to be number one before my art. So, yeah, I just wanted to make a video, put that out there, because I'm just getting tired of having to feel defensive towards different things. But at the end of the day, it's forcing me to just shut my mouth and shut my window of relationship with people. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't even know why I want to continue entertaining a relation, even friendships that are like 10, 15 years, 5 years, 2 years old. Sometimes I just want to just because I should never have to debacle with anyone. I should never have to debate with anybody. And if someone, and this happened with a date on Saturday, I had a lunch date, and this Fulio was talking about, like, let's watch MSNBC and CNN and let's have a debate. And I'm like, I ain't got time for that. Like, I already deal with people who criticize me because it is the job that I chose, right? And it's not like I want people to feel sorry for me. But even on the app of what my job is, the app asks you, so how was rate your class, thumbs up or down. Same with Uber. When I was Uber driving, after every trip, please rate your rider 1 through 5. And do you know the scrutiny that you have to eliminate from your mind? Like the mental effery, that's the word I'm making up from now on. The mental effery that society has created upon us. And every time I say that, people just go, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, it's just in your head. Oh, let it brush off. Oh, it's being schizophrenic. Well, but the narrative of the environment we live in is conditioning you to be critical towards other people. It's creating Nazis out of everybody. Sorry to say that. But I use that word in a sense where if you think that your life comes before someone else, that is Nazi-minded. If you think that this shouldn't exist, or that person shouldn't exist, or I have hate towards this person, they shouldn't live, and F them, like, you shouldn't live like that. You should live in peace and harmony and try to be a peacemaker and a bridge maker. That is my point here on earth. That is my only objective. That's my only purpose, is to coming to a realization that the way we're living is just not correct. And how do we correct it? We start having to look at ourselves, look at our actions, look in the mirror before we start chastising and breaking people down. It starts with self. And if it doesn't start with self, then where do you go from there? I say this all the time, and I'll keep saying it forever and ever. And if it might bring emotions to me because I'm a compassionate person, I will die saying this over and over and over until the world is changed. I always ask certain people, like, what are you doing to change the world? One person at a time. And what I did yesterday was actually the biggest, it was a big ego move on my part. Hey, ego, how you doing? But at the same token, I had a friend who was broken. Well, I just met him, and he just seemed low in energy, and I sensed depression. I think I was covering up depression for the last 2 months. I know I was really depressed in December, but it's okay to identify those are emotions. They're not behavior traits, they are emotions. They're part of what we go through. We internalize, and that's what relationships are for. We're supposed to relate to each other, and we're all in this boat together. So how do we deal with each other? How do we get along? People forget that aspect of relationships. So yesterday I'm in the freezing cold helping my friend move his business into a second level loft where he lives. And I almost wanted to kill him the last 30 minutes, but after the job was done, you felt this burden of release off of someone. So why do you think in the future of my relationship with this person, will I ever dare criticize and critique his judgment in life? Would I ever say anything about his relationships? No. Would I ever take something that I know so deeply about his mistakes and rub it in his face? No. If you're there for somebody, if you vow on your own free will to be there to comfort and take care of somebody because you know there's a soul there to that needs unconditional attention, you just do it. You know, it's like when you raise a child, do you tell a child every time he or she makes a mistake, or you know, every time that they make a mistake, do you remind them, hey, that's a mistake, don't do that. Hey, that's a mistake, why'd you do that? Oh, you're dumb for making... No. It's just not how we operate as people. And since we're, in Black History Month, before I go, I always say to everybody, Black History Month is funny because you see African American and Black history in the same category. If it's Black History Month, make it Black History Month. But the last 400 years of us, I know I jumped subjects like that. But I just had to sneak it in because that's going to be another video of me. But, you know, the last 400 years of slavery and condemnation and you know, it's just cruel and negative. But, you know, we look at the paper trail of the culture of my people, and that's not all that we are. You know, we're only told that we've only persevered through hardships and whatnot. But that's not Black history. That's, you know, American history of Black folks. If it's African American History Month, educate me about the culture of South Africans, North Africans. What about the secrets of Egypt? Things like that. Let's know some African history, African History Month. You know what I mean? But Blacks are not African, and we all didn't come from Africa. And if you disagree with me, then you need to research the Great Migration of Judah. So if you look that up, I might even put in my comments below, the Great Migration, or the Migration of Judah. The Kingdom of Judah, they all had to migrate. They went to the Kingdom of Beersheba for refuge. That's where David met Beersheba. They fell in love, shacked up. They had a lot of intimacy. They cheated on each other's companions and established their own bloodline. When the Khazars from, Rome and Greece found out about this, new empire that's building up, they had to come and rip them apart, destroy them. So they moved them to Africa. They pushed them down, right? So, anyways, you know the story of Moses. And Moses was going down a river. Where did he come from? He came from the Kingdom of Judah and was raised as an African. Then became an emperor because it was his birthright. He was a royal. They didn't want him to catch on to it, so guess what? They discounted him, bullied him, and made him feel like, oh, no, you need to act like a slave, and you're on the bottom of the food chain, Moses. Anyways, I'll continue this dialogue later, but that just gives you guys a perspective that there's a conditioning in our environment where through race, through orientation, through position of life, we have been taught that people are on a certain scale of 1 to 10. And that was just my little example of, when people treat certain people a certain way, you shouldn't do that. But some people are not aware of it because it was all in fairy tales, it was all in storybooks, it was all in biblical texts, it was all in, mythology and things like that. So being aware of that, I feel I have a duty to share a perspective and shed a light, So I speak my case, I rest my case, and you guys have a great and wonderful night. Please take and download what I say and don't have any offense to it, because that's only a remark of your naiveness to understand a friend who's only here to be compassionate.